What's going on, legend, and welcome to this special video. This is Angus of Barbells and Burgers, and I'm excited to be sharing with you in this video today. I'm going to be sharing and unpackaging an epic interview that I had with my epic client, the main man, Mark Edmondson. So me and old mate Mark, we actually connected earlier on in the year, in January of 2018. I remember he messaged me on Facebook kind of out of nowhere, and he just messaged me and said, "Hey bro, like I've been following you for a little while. You know, I've been struggling with this and I'm seeing you looking like this. How can I look like that and how can I achieve it?" So main man Mark has been absolutely awesome to work with, and in this video just very shortly, me and him are going to be having an interview. We're going to be unpacking basically his journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, where he was, where he is now, his learnings, his growth points and stuff like that, so that it can help you in your own journey, especially if you are I guess it's obviously relevant, but with Mark himself, he's a single dad, so he's someone that has rotating shifts, you know, obviously various kids, and you know, mucking around with custody and stuff like that with his ex-misses and stuff like that, and all the head fucking stuff that comes with that. So yeah, obviously with this sort of scenario, you're going to be learning basically the big game changes that I taught him that enabled him to go from being basically overweight, hating his self-image, struggling, all that sort of stuff, in a shit relationship with food, all the way through to how he looks now, which is 10 kgs leaner, fucking strong, smashing it, you know, killing it in the gym, as you're seeing from this footage here, eating awesome food, just having an awesome time, and now obviously at the stage where he's freed from the dieting and the health and fitness system forever. So enjoy, watch this all the way through, and you're going to see an awesome opportunity at the end if you actually are someone who's well related to what Mark has actually been sharing, and obviously if you can relate to his story, because understand that when it comes to, well, stuff like this, obviously, well, if you don't prioritize yourself, you're not willing to learn. Naturally, what a lot of guys do is they sink themselves into the suck hole that is doing the same stuff over and over, expecting different results and never really getting anywhere. So it's time to chat with Mark. Strap yourself in and let's get stuck into it. So mighty man Mark, awesome to be connecting and chatting with you, brother. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on, and obviously today the intention here is to unpack some of your story, so that way for whoever's listening and tuning into this video can obviously take some value from the stuff that we're going to unpack today, but also be inspired by your journey and the stuff that you've achieved as a single dad, the gains you've made, and yeah, hopefully it helps them in their journey. So firstly, man, big hello to you. Let's get stuck into, I guess, unpacking some of your story with, I guess, the first part kicking off. Why don't you share a bit about, I guess, you know, you, mate, with where you were at and what you were going through, struggles, that sort of stuff, with, I guess, yeah, your journey before you and I crossed paths, bro. Unpackage some of that for us.
Well, basically, like over different times, as an Aboriginal, I've had a stomach and always just blamed genetics, basically. Tried all the different diets over different times a year, different things, trying to lose the stomach. I was never really big, but always had that stomach region that would never shift. And yeah, like I was on intermittent fasting just before I ended up being coached by you when we crossed paths. And then yeah, the flexible nutrition changed everything from there. Pretty much, it got rid of the gut in 3 to 4 months, gone. When I'd tried for a good 10, 15 years of different things.
And that's a common thing, mate, for not only you know, male but women as well. Like, it's a common spot that a lot of people have, you know, confidence issues and insecurities around their gut and that sort of thing, because obviously when you're wearing really any clothes, it can sort of show to an extent, or obviously if you got your shirt off and stuff like that, well, you know what I mean, like no one likes to have that sort of gut. Or
the Buddha body.
Yeah, or like it usually is sort of like the beer gut, right? But then, you know what I mean, you were absolutely putting away tins and beers like an absolute trooper, you know, you were trying your best, right? So in terms of, as you sort of said, so this journey been going on for some time, and you know, you're trying various methods and stuff like that. And this is something that even I used to do before I discovered flexible dieting as well, back in mid-2013. You know, I'd done many different diets as well, keto, paleo, Atkins, just all sorts, and basically just lots and lots of restriction, as well as lots of supplement-based ones as well. So intermittent fasting, you mentioned, this is something that is really popular at the moment, just like the ketogenic diet. So if you're not familiar, you know, if you're tuning in, intermittent fasting is basically like you kind of extend and play around with your fasting window, so where you're not eating. So typically a lot of people will fast all morning and they won't eat until 12 or 2 after they finish work. And then they've got a small eating window, and that's when you obviously eat, and then you fast again. So like if someone's getting results, it's not necessarily because they were just doing intermittent fasting, it's because they played around with their eating window to meet a specific calorie amount. And this is one of the big things that Mark was, contributed to him losing his gut and getting lean and shredded and whatever, was understanding this concept. And you mentioned flexible nutrition, bro. So why don't you share, I guess, some insight into where you are now in terms of your relationship with food, your relationship with exercise, just some of the big gains and wins that you've made across this, this time frame of coaching together, bro.
Well, basically now with the food, I've worked out I really do love food.
Yeah.
Because I was able to eat pretty much whatever I wanted. That was the key to the flexible nutrition. Mm-hmm. I made sure I was getting pretty much either an ice cream a day or some form of chocolate or something every single day, on the process of losing the probably 10 odd kilos it took to get rid of the stomach. Mm-hmm. But and yeah, like just tracking it on the MyFitnessPal app was a big one, just so you actually know what you've got. And then also, like with the exercise, realise that with the exercise, it allows you to eat whenever you want virtually, which your body's always in, the metabolism's always going. So you can fit the food around your lifestyle, because as you said, I was a single dad and I was doing a job where I had to do flexible hours to allow for me having my kids, but then still getting enough money to do it, and then fitting the gym in. Sometimes I'll be leaving the gym at midnight and eating food when I got home to get up and go to work. So like the flexible nutrition worked in more than what the intermittent fasting could, because it allowed me to eat when I wanted to. Pretty much got to eat what I wanted to. And yeah, just had to sort of track it and go from there with it. But yeah.
That's huge, bro, because if we think about like, your amount of time in the dieting and eating game with trying to lose your gut and get body confidence and stuff like that, you can probably sort of see now in terms of how you operate with food now compared to how it was. Like, it's entirely different, but it's also very simple because, we've taken the focus away from what do I need to eat to lose weight, or what diet's going to allow me to lose fat the best, or which exercises are going to strip my belly fat or whatever, to eating in a calorie deficit that's enough to be able to sustain muscle mass so that you enjoy the process while eating what you want when you want to, which has then resulted in the loss of fat and you leaning down, which is huge because this is what all guys want. But we're taught to, via being in the health and fitness industry, that, restriction is necessary. You need to cut out carbs, you need to cut out this, you need to eat every 2 to 3 hours to, prevent muscle loss, all this sort of stuff. And as Mark said, he had busy days, random hours, that sort of stuff. So if you're trying to build your result off of a special routine or eating at rigid times, it becomes so fucking hard and you can't stick to it. Yeah. So you've been consistent, bro. There's obviously been some hiccups on the way here and there, but we've obviously been solution focused to push through them. I think one of the big gains worth mentioning is sort of like how far your strength has come in terms of leaps and bounds in the gym. So, in terms of your background with exercise before, from memory, you didn't have too much of a background in like isolated weightlifting and stuff. It was more so soccer and cardio based stuff, and is that right? I think from memory, is that what you
pretty much. I never actually, it felt weird walking to the other section of the gym where you had free weights to actually look like you know what you're doing, as opposed to getting under the machines that are ready to go.
That's it. And then we're over here now where the structure has been taken off of that sort of approach, but to do it for fun if you wanted to, and then isolation and structure in the gym. So what we basically did for Mark was had his focus around just getting strong and moving more weight from week to week in terms of his weightlifting exercises, so that way it could improve his metabolism despite the age of the years, which is 21 of course. It's getting you stronger, so that way you're giving your body consistent reason to keep a hold of the muscle that it has. Because for a lot of us, especially as we start to get above 30, this is where our body's like, okay, well, it's starting to pay real close attention to what you're doing, and if you're not giving valid reason for it to keep a hold of muscle, it will gradually let go of it. Even if you're dropping weight, like you're letting go of muscle. This is how a lot of guys get skinny fat
and skinny where they've got, you know, like a fairly slender frame, but then they've still got a big gut, right? So it's like, it's a shitty aesthetic to have, but it can be something that can be completely avoided through knowing how to weight lift properly. So Mark, my man, why don't you share, I guess, kind of like how you know, weightlifting and having a structured focus like this, how do you think that has, like, what's that done for you? Like, because I know that for me, with like, because I never used to weight train as well. I used to do pretty much no exercise for ages, and then I went through a phase of doing sports for a while, and I went through a phase of thinking the gym was a waste of time. And you fast forward to now, and like, I fucking love bodybuilding. My training is a mixture of powerlifting and bodybuilding, little amounts of cardio here and there, and I love the challenge of versing my own numbers and moving more weight. And like, I find that it brings huge mental gains and excitement to lift. But for you, why don't you share how, I guess, it's changed you and what big gains you've noticed as a result of this style of training?
Well, the one of the, just purely on numbers, like when I first started, I was around 79, 80 kilos and lifting, I think 70 kilos on a deadlift. Got down to 69, 70 kilos and lifting about 130, so nearly twice the body weight in terms of power. And like, yeah, just, there is a lot of days in the gym where you don't want to take it on, and that's where you get your most gains, when you get through them workouts. Because then you know you've got through it, and it's like, yeah, I can, you know, it becomes a part of you. Because I'd never thought I'd get into the gym as much as what I did. And like, as you know, I first started off with some home workouts where I couldn't get to the gym as much, but then in the second phase moved into purely gym workouts, and now I couldn't imagine living without them. Like, the strength that you get out of it physically, but just the way you look, you enjoy looking at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 42 and it's the best shape I've ever looked. Like, even when I was 20, I still had that gut that was a problem back then. And like, my 8-year-old boy's got it, so that's why I know it's not, you know, I always thought it was genetics, but it's not. It's just food and lack of exercise, the right type of exercise.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And yeah, like, those numbers have been fucking awesome, right? And yeah, so it goes to show that, like, Mike wasn't just winging it in the gym, right? The reason why he was able to make progress like this in the gym was because we had structure. So even at his home workouts as well, it was like, well, how can we create load and build his fitness through just using his own body weight / whatever shit he had at home? And I mean, that served its time. And then it was like, right, I guess I can get to the gym now. What do you want me to do? And it was like, cool, bro, do this. And you know, I mean, with that structure, in terms of having a direct focus on compound lifts, so squats, benching, deadlifts, just exercises that are using multiple muscle groups to move weight from A to B, you know, with the right training feedback and stuff like that, this is where Mike was able to, well, excel. And, you know, when it came to Progress Sunday each week and stuff like that, and seeing all his workout logs, and it was just like, fucking awesome, bro. Nice. Like, tracking all his lifts, I gave him feedback and stuff like that. Naturally, because he gives a fuck about himself and his goals, he was able to progress accordingly. And this reflected in his, well, his lifts getting stronger and stronger, and his body fat gradually dropping fairly close to streamline with very, very, very minimal, well, hashtag plateaus. And that's because, well, when you're consistent with the stuff that matters, you give your body valid reason to move forward consistently, despite its, well, hardwired survival mechanisms that are basically designed to keep us fat. Yeah, and as you've sort of learned, bro, like, our bodies like holding onto fat because it's a free energy source to keep us safe, just in case we ever enter into like a fucking famine or, you know, some sort of shit like that, which, as we know, isn't going to happen. So it's like, that's what we're working against, right? So mate, huge gains in deadlifts, huge gains in everything, which is sick. And squats as well. I know that the big goal was to get you squatting just above your own body weight, and you know, fucking here we are, right? I remember there was a time where I couldn't even squat 40, and now I can squat 180. So it's like, you know, this takes obviously a bit of time, but naturally, short time frame we've been coaching together, it just goes to show that with the right, you know, support, and by you prioritizing yourself and knowing what your why is in terms of why you want to change, you know, anything can be achieved because you're solution focused as you move through life's adversity, which you definitely have, you know, a lot of, right? So let's chat about, in terms of, like, you know, some of the big, you know, so obviously we've chatted about where you've sort of been. We've now got some awesome insight into where you know, are now. You know, the learnings that you've taken to get from A to B have been, you know, awesome, right? And, you know, this is stuff that's going to serve you to keep this ongoing, right? So in terms of, I guess, what you feel have been maybe the, you know, like as you sort of mentioned before, I think some of the biggest wins have been in relation to nutrition and in training, right? So if you were to speak to, or like visualize yourself speaking to Mark, maybe the version of you 2 years ago, right? What 2 pieces of advice could you give to Mark 2 years ago? He doesn't know any of this, right? What 2 pieces of advice could you give to Mark, clueless Mark back then 2 years ago in terms of what you've learned now? What would that be?
Get to the gym and track the calories, watching the macronutrients.
So why are those things important? Let's pretend that you're talking to, you know, numbnuts Mark over there.
Because the gym allows you to love your body, change it, shape it a bit, but then, it sort of lets you eat how you want to, because your body's it's getting the metabolism going, and it's getting the body functioning properly. And then just track the calories, and more importantly, you keep your eye on the macros so you can eat what you want, stay full all the time. And it went pretty quick. Like for 15 years of struggle, to lose it in less than 4 months was a bit of a shock.
Yeah. That's cool, man. And just so that you guys know that are tuning in, whether this is YouTube or one of my blogs or just my personal posts, whatever, I hope you've come across this video. Like, one of the biggest things that I'm about is sustainability. So I couldn't give 2 shits about getting someone shredded in 2 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it may be. This is about like beginning with the end in mind. So like the methods that we've utilized is keeping in mind lifestyle, not having to sacrifice other areas in favor of trying to take this stuff on board, but rather working this into all the demands that you've got going on so that it can be something that you enjoy doing ongoing. And one of the big things that Mark has learned has been that, well, to be able to adhere, you need to enjoy what you're eating. You need to enjoy the training. You need to enjoy the work, because otherwise, if it feels like a chore and you're hating it, you will be susceptible to this bullshit that is stopping and starting all the time, falling off the wagon, back on the wagon, like all this sort of dumb fuck stuff that we see with people doing things like keto and isogenics and Herbalife and stuff like that, which all works, but it's just very restrictive ways of putting yourself in a calorie deficit. And old mate Mark, like, what's been some of your, if you think back on your fond memories of stuff that you've been eating and stuff like that, like what's some of the cool shit that you've been eating and you're like, holy fuck, like, how am I getting lean eating this? Like, this just feels surreal. Like, why don't you share some of those moments?
Oh, I had plenty of them, but just with the time frame, that was a complete byproduct of just the consistency that come with it. I was still gobsmacked at the speed of it, but it wasn't, as you say, the focus of it. But with food, there's numerous ones. Just being able to eat, there's like 2 plates of food now. Sometimes when you cook your meals and it's like 800 calories, and you look at it and go, I get to eat all that, and you struggle to get through it. Mm-hmm. And but then just like I said, having my ice cream and chocolate, I found was the best part. Having it almost daily. I don't think there was many days where I didn't have it on the journey. Like now, it's a part of what I do. But it's just, I can't even think. So I love me baked beans. They're the best.
That's what I was trying to think of some of the photos that you posted to me or put in the client group or whatever. I remember it's just like, check out this boys, like a big plate of baked beans and fucking bacon and shit, and this is at like tea time or some random ass time, and it's like, nice.
Even where the food fits in too is with travel.
Yes.
Like still able to meet your demands and that, because like flying to Adelaide there one day, I just virtually cooked up the meal the night before, had it on the train down to the airport, and that was pretty much most of the day covered, but didn't get hungry until the afternoon when I knew all the travel would be out of the way and I'd be settled where I was going.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And
I've cooked some massive feeds.
That's it. And it goes to show with a bit of planning, you can make any day work for you so that you can be consistent. And one thing we'll touch on just quickly is like the importance of like this like the game of flexible dieting when it comes to fat loss is like it's really kind of like a personal development journey, because at the start you realize that, oh fuck yeah, I can literally eat burgers, pizza, anything that I want. But then you quickly realize, oh shit, like that stuff's fairly loaded and I don't get to eat too much of it in terms of the food volume, and I'm hungry again not long afterwards, and if I'm eating only processed stuff, I start to feel quite shit because I got no energy and vitality, and I struggle to lift in the gym. So like it becomes a game of the balance of that YOLO food and nutrient dense food, so that you can get in enough protein, you know, enough fiber and stuff like that, so that you're healthy. Because this is obviously, well, you know, like we don't just give a shit about helping Mark to look better. This is about improving his health as well, so that he's around as long as possible and, you know, feels great while he's leaning down, which has been testament to food choices, right? So this is where that gamma development comes in. Not just, you know, if you think about your restrictive way of thinking before, now this is a means of a moderative approach, so that way you're making choices based on your own, you know, beliefs and stuff like that. Even if you were fucking vegan or veggie, like, I mean, these principles would still apply, because it's like you've still got targets. See what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
It's just that consistency with targets that has, you know, worked its magic, right? So, mate, in terms of, you know, you and your journey, it's been fucking awesome, and so sick to sharing it. And, you know, I'm sure any other dads or even just guys that are tuning in to watch this are hopefully inspired by what you've achieved. Why don't you, I guess, share in terms of like you obviously, well, the journey prior was many years going solo, and then, you know, what you've achieved through working with me has been achieved well within a year, right? So like for anyone that hasn't had a coach before, or who may have been following me for a while and be like, oh, I still kind of don't know if Angus is the man to, you know, help me sort my shit out or not. Why don't you, I guess, share some insight as to why you believe that someone getting coaching with me would be an awesome investment to roll with, or even just your overall feedback from how you've enjoyed coaching and how you can see that it's changed you through working with me.
Well, basically, yeah, with the coaching, definitely need it, because you need to be told by someone that's living what you want. And that was the biggest thing. Like, I've tried it over different times with different partners and all that, and it's never worked, because neither myself nor the partner had the knowledge to do it. And through the coaching with the weekly content videos that you go through, so you learn yourself, so you become self-sufficient. And that's the one big takeaway out of being coached by you, has been the knowledge you learn. Is because, like, you don't just throw it here, do this, do that. You teach it at the same time, so that people learn it. So once you learn it, you can do it yourself. And then when you keep doing it and you get held accountable with your weekly check-ins where you're tracking everything, you can see where you go wrong on the week where you might have had such a good week, but you just get back on the horse and keep going. And yeah, it's just so many benefits out of being coached that, yeah, it's worth its weight in gold. And like, you lead from the front, like you live what you preach with how you eat, because seen some of your burgers and pizzas and that, mate, and yeah, but yeah, just definitely coaching is 100% the way to go if you're sitting on the fence, because you need to know the right stuff, because pretty much everything I know or have known about food before now, I don't use. I base it all off everything I've used in this year working with you on how I go about things, and I'll pass that on to my kids now. And I just teach them that there's no such really good and bad foods, no healthy, unhealthy. It's like you say with the food, like if you eat it and you're not full, it's because it's not macronutrient rich or anything. So then you're not going to chew. You're going to naturally steer away from that. But you want to feel full and you want to feel good, and that's what I'm teaching my kids, that they can have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's not bad for them, but you just got to try and get the right amount of the better foods in you.
That's awesome, man. So like, that's really powerful to be able to embody this enough that you know, are sustained to be able to keep this lifestyle going, you know, ongoing, because it's so common that people, you know, smash a short-term thing or whatever, and then try to go back towards what they're doing before, and then the weight comes piling back on. Whereas here it's like, because you've had enough time in the trenches and having me supporting you, not only has all this stuff stuck, but because you've built that discipline, you've created, to an extent, an identity shift. So it's like it's built within you now and hardwired this new way to see food, which is how it should be seen. Like, as you said, no food, good or bad. It's all about quantities, because, you know, you can die from having too much vitamin C. You can kill yourself from taking in too much water, like all this sort of shit, right? So it's like anything can be damaging in excessive quantity. It's just about understanding, well, you know, how certain foods make you feel, and then making food choices from there. And you know, even say for example with, you know, what you touched on with coaching, like for a lot of us, if we are going at the journey solo, like it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it means you're only accountable to yourself. It means that, well, you're really kind of like your only sort of decision maker. And then it's like, because everything that it takes to learn to achieve a transformation like what you've had, you can probably find pieces, the bulk of the pieces, for free online. But then the problem then becomes that you drown in the sea of conflicting information as you try and piece it all together in terms of which is relevant and how to order it. And then you get even more confused, and it becomes more problems that keep people stuck. So I'm sure you can agree, Mark, that what's been an asset to you is just like, oh, bro, here's it straight. This is how we're doing it. This is why we're doing it. And I support you how to do it. See what I mean? And that's what has removed that confusion, that guesswork, that fear. And, you know, you can probably relate that it's probably felt like a bit of a weight lifted off your shoulders, a lot of it. So that way you can just get on with what's right and then see it through, and you feel more certain in your ability as you see your body change. Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. That was the biggest thing. Just from the start, I just said, you know what you're doing. I'll trust you. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And then the results they end up speaking for themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Proof's in the pudding. And I still have people these days that think that I look how I do because of genetics and all this sort of bullshit. And it's just like, hang on a tick, like, do you even know how I used to look? Like, so I mean, I'm just like anyone else, but it's like, it's just progression over time. And, you know, you've now built yourself an awesome body and a great relationship with food that's going to serve you ongoing. It's just a means of, well, you know, should you desire to gain muscle / shred / maintain or whatever, you still get to eat whatever you want. It's just a means of adjusting calories relevant, and off you go. So
yeah, that's it.
What an awesome scenario to be in, hey? So kudos to you again, my man. Thanks so much for you know, coming on and sharing some insight into your story. And yeah, bro, big love to you, and onwards and upwards.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
And boom, there we go. And that was the chat with Mark. I really, really hope you gained some value from, you know, Mark and myself unpackaging his journey together. Like, holy shit, was that awesome? Like, you know, at 42 years old, you know, now looking and feeling better than when he was in his 20s. Like, that is special. And what it just goes to show is that with the right support, with the right knowledge, with the right structure, you can achieve anything it is that you want. It's just a means of, are you willing to make a decision to change? Now, as a means of, well, you know, I guess thanking you for watching all the way through, what I'd love for you to do, if you're open to it, of course, is click one of the links below. You'll see there's a special one that's going to take you to some insight into what my coaching is all about, Alpha Male Mastery. Obviously, it's not for everyone. You know, like, there's only a specific sort of person that I work with. But what I'm more than happy to do is, well, I guess have one-to-one chats with guys who can relate to the content that I'm pumping out and are open to having a chat to be able to see if what I do is a good fit for them. So by no means does, if you and I have a chat, mean I'm going to sell you or anything like that. We're going to be connecting. Well, you and I will have a chat about sort of what you've been going through and where you're at and what your journey's been looking like so far. And I guess kind of gauge as to, well, what it could look like if we were to work together, if I was to help you, or at least worst case scenario, give you some sick value and insight to be able to help you to just stop doing what you're doing and understand how simple fat loss actually is and how you can be getting results on autopilot. But thank you so much for watching. Please, like, I guess however it turned out that you watched this video, if I sent it to you or whatever and you've been following me on Facebook, awesome. If you've been following me on YouTube and you're checking this out as a, you know, sort of just random viewer, make sure that you subscribe. I'd love to have you checking out more of my videos, exercise tutorials, random shit, all that sort of good stuff. And make sure that you follow me on my social links below. I'm extremely active on social, on Facebook, Instagram, that sort of stuff. And really hope this has been an asset to your journey. Peace out. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the YouTube world.